bacteria that's destroyed synthesizes vitamins for the body. E. coli synthesizes vitamin K. Bacteria synthesizes vitamin B. Vitamin B is one of the main stress vitamins for the nervous system. So you can have a lot of nervous system effects from Candida in the body and the destruction of these bacteria through antibiotics, which is part of the antibiotic syndrome or post-antibiotic syndrome. These B vitamins also play a role in producing hydrochloric acid for the stomach. Hydrochloric acid is one of the kind of primary defenses that prevent parasites and infectious agents from getting into the digestive tract. It also, hydrochloric acid produces an environment which allows enzymes in the stomach to break down your protein, to absorb iron, to absorb vitamin B12 by activating intrinsic factor protein in the stomach. You lose iodine absorption, so you affect thyroid function. Calcium, you decrease calcium absorption. So you start to see how you have this kind of global effect when you take antibiotics destroying bacteria, in addition to creating fungal candida, which in itself is so problematic, we've upset the normal bacterial flora of the body. Antibiotics cause a cytokine storm, a massive amount of cytokines, and this is sort of a reflexive event that takes place because the initial effect is to suppress the cytokines, but by destroying all the bacteria, you eventually down the road get this massive amount of inflammation inside the digestive tract. And Candida will use inflammation to help destroy or weaken the cells lining the intestinal tract to allow it to exit the intestinal tract and enter the bloodstream more effectively. And as you can see from some of the slides we had shown you saw Candida in the esophagus, you saw Candida in the heart, you saw Candida in the vaginal tissue. All these pictures are demonstrating once it gets in the body, has the ability to spread throughout the body. Antibiotics can directly stimulate the yeast to fungus conversion. One of the antibiotics that's been shown to do this, and I don't know if this is still really considered to be the most accurate science, was tetracycline. Much of the research that was done in the early 1950s, late 1940s, early 60s, they really looked at, they didn't know why there was this overgrowth of fungus after people were taking this new drug called an antibiotic. And they were really investigating, a lot of pharmaceutical companies were investigating, and when they couldn't figure out what was causing it, they kind of started leaving that behind. But you'll see, if you can get to SciTrends, if it comes back online, you'll see a lot of these. The gradual increase in study of antifungals, Candida articles, as we showed on PubMed, over 24,000 research articles on Candida. So it's very much a problem. And so most people are rubbing their heads who have this problem or suspect they have this problem, or when they go to an MD and they say, look, I think I have a Candida infection. And the guy's, that's crazy. That doesn't exist. That's impossible. That doesn't happen. And there's the science there to prove it. And if they're really open-minded, they'll look at the science. It's there. Let's see where to go next. Some of the recent research has shown that when you go to an MD, they say it doesn't happen. They say it only happens in people who have immunosuppression because we're suppressing their immune system, that they have cancer, or that they're AIDS patients. That's pretty much the only way you can get Candida and systemic Candida. They say, and it's rare. It's the fourth most common hospital-acquired infection out there, so it's not something that doesn't exist in hospitals or in their environment. And again, if you have any questions, please call us at 1-888-236-7780. I think what I'd like to do now is shift to some questions, because some of the questions will take us back into the science, and we can look at it from that way, from someone's question. It says, our first question comes from the UK, from England, and it says, why is there no tests on the NHS, and this is their National Health Service, that shows Candida? Why is there no medical backup from my hospital or general practitioner who just keeps telling me there's nothing wrong that they can find? One is going to be the limitation of the science in terms of being able to diagnose this. There are tests that you can diagnose Candida through stool tests, through blood tests, through saliva tests, and through urine tests. So you can check organic. It was like organic urine testing you can get done, and that's done through the Great Plains lab. They do great organic urine testing, and you can go there for that. Most labs will do antibody testing, which is usually the blood testing. Some will do stool testing. I think Diagnostics labs will do stool and saliva testing. Genova Labs, I think, also does stool and saliva blood testing. So there are tests out there, but you really have to look at the medical profession, and I think this applies to all of us. We create walls around us based on our beliefs, and our beliefs are many times based on what we've learned in life or what we've been taught. So as a medical doctor, you're not really taught this. So this is not even in your realm, your sphere of knowledge. When it happens, you're in a hospital, you don't really know anything. So what you do is you call an infectious disease specialist who will come and look at this information. But basically, they don't have an understanding of this. When you tell them it's antibiotics that cause it, they're like, no, and that's because they don't know the science. They don't look at the science. The science is out there, but what's coming down the line based on some of this fantastic new research and fantastic PCR testing, where we're using the testing that we used in the ecosystems of the jungle, and now we're doing it, turning that inward and looking at the gut, is the research out of Stanford show that, hey, this has implications for obesity and cancer and other conditions, asthma, diarrhea, life-threatening conditions, allergies. So the science is showing this. Another great thing that came out in that research out of Stanford is commonly over the past decades, it was believed that the 100 trillion microorganisms in the gut were composed of 400 or 500 different species. So it was only 400 to 500 different species. The Stanford research showed that there were anywhere from 3,300 to 5,700 different species. And that was research out of 2009. Research out of 2008 out of the University of Michigan said there was anywhere from 15,000 to 30,000 species. So we can see that we've come a long way from the 400 to 500, which is really what you'll find on most Candida sites, most fungal sites. It's in the literature. It's still coming out. Even in current literature, you'll find the reference to 400 to 500 species. There was even good research that was done in the 90s that showed that there was 1,000 species, and they quit counting at that point. But the new research gives us a faster and easier way to look at the number of species in the intestinal tract. So the research is there, the research about how antibiotics are bad, the research about Candida, 24,567 articles in PubMed, National Institute of Health, United States. There's research around the world. Our Candida library will give you several databases you can go to. You'll find research that isn't in PubMed. You'll find research that's in other languages that hasn't been translated. You'll even find research on PubMed where there's no abstract or research article, but it's just logged there. The Candida library is a free site. It's a nonprofit site. We're not going to be promoting McCombs plan on there. We're not going to be promoting any plan. We're going to give information that everybody can use to educate themselves, educate their physicians, and unfortunately that's what has to be done today. The pharmaceutical companies have realized this, which is why you have a lot of direct-to-consumer marketing by pharmaceutical companies about conditions and diseases and the drugs that you should take for them, and then the long disclaimer about all the side effects that go with the drug. They're really looking at educating the consumer, and then having the consumer go to the doctor and educating the doctor. And this is kind of a scary way to look at the medical profession, that they have to be educated by their patients and by the consumer. That being said, I'm open to being educated by everybody and finding education from every source that's out there. But some people aren't, which is why also a doctor doesn't want to really practice outside of what everybody else is doing. It's safe. It keeps them safe from lawsuits. If I do what everybody else is doing, then I'm fine. I can keep making a living. So unfortunately for those millions of people who have Candida, they can't address this situation, but there are many situations they can address, which is why holistic practitioners are so successful in this area. So whether it's chiropractors, acupuncturists, naturopaths, massage therapists, nurse practitioners, there are a lot of people out there who have this information. So I think what's wrong is the model where people have a condition and they go to the MD. But the MD doesn't understand many things. The MD really is more into drug therapy protocols. And I had this experience when I had 2 twins that were born 25 weeks, very early, and they were in a neonatal intensive care unit for